Why do you even go to the office?
So when I joined Netflix, my employment on Workday says fully remote Washington, meaning I don't even have to go into the office. When I went for Google I/O this year, Google I/O was Tuesday and Wednesday, and I decided to just work from the office that whole week. And let me tell you, the conversations that I had with people on Monday alone, it was hallway conversations that I was missing.
Yeah.
It was context that I was missing. It was relationships that weren't getting built because
You're not going to bump into your manager inside your house. Otherwise, there are problems.
yeah, you won't. Okay. Yes, you won't bump into your manager. If your manager or your VP shows up at your house, I think you have bigger fish to fry.
Yep.
Yeah, there's serious problems. I dare you. I want you to have a problem, right? I want you to have serious technical problem. That's not just a config issue or something. We're talking design type of problem. We're talking, there's so many layers to this problem. Then open Visual Studio, open a heavy IDE, right? Something that takes up a lot of memory, takes up a lot of this thing. And then open Teams or open Zoom or open whatever and share your screen and try to fix that thing with someone on the other side who is telling you to click on this. Do you understand? Yeah, like click on what? You understand what I mean? Like there's so much friction in just that getting help.
Is ridiculous. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Beyond the Build, a podcast where I and my co-host Uma talk about all the things that software engineers do beyond, writing code. Writing code is the easy part comparatively.
Yeah.
Today we're going to talk about something that I think is riling for lots of people and some people love, which is work from home or work from the office.
Yeah.
I and Uma are both remote.
Yes.
But we also live in a city where we have offices. And to be honest, I'd be going to the office once in a while.
Yeah, I try to go the goal is 2 times a week, but sometimes it's usually just once a week. Yeah.
Why do you even go to the office?
That's a great question. And I want to give a little bit of a backstory as to why I even started going. So when I joined Netflix, I was my employment on Workday says fully remote Washington, meaning I don't even have to go into the office. When I went for Google I/O this year, I went to Los Gatos, Silicon Valley, that's basically that whole area. But Google I/O was Tuesday and Wednesday, and I decided to just work from the office that whole week instead of just flying in Tuesday and Wednesday. So I flew to California, worked from the office on Monday, went to Google I/O on Tuesday and Wednesday, and then Thursday I went into the office, and Friday I went into the office as well. And let me tell you, the conversations that I had with people on Monday alone, right? Just that whole week. But let's start with Monday. The conversations I had with people on Monday, and then on Monday and on Thursday and on Friday. Even Wednesday, because I basically left I/O early, and then I came back and I went into the office, and then I worked for a little bit. It was hallway conversations that I was missing.
Yeah.
It was context that I was missing. It was relationships that weren't getting built because there is no other way to build those relationships without putting in effort while you're doing it remotely. So the conversation that I would have with someone sitting down randomly on a lunch table to say, hey, yeah, like, is this it taken? It's something that you would have to intentionally try to do. And also, if you now send somebody a random message to say, hey, can we meet for something? Like, it's weird. Basically, it's in that week alone, I had so many conversations where I needed help from someone who was there like this.
Yeah.
It was so simple to get that help, right?
Yeah.
If I wasn't there, I would need to schedule a meeting, then share my screen. And, there was just so much friction that wasn't there while I was there in person. And I realized that was what I was missing. And ever since I came back from that, I think one was Google I/O. It was earlier this year. I think it was in May. Ever since I came back, I started going into the office 2 to 3 times. And I have made a lot of relationships with people just from the Seattle office alone, Seattle where we're based in. And so that's why I go in. I have a few other reasons, but that's my primary reason for going in, just so I could create those relationships with people. Yeah.
That's really beautiful. I think just focusing on the idea of serendipity. You could meet people, you could bump into people in the office, you could bump into people going to grab lunch, just around. Like around, you can have coincidences that improve your career. There is no coincidence you're having when you are inside your house, only you and your family.
Quietly.
That will help you. Like it's very unlikely you have a coincidence at home that's going to help. You're not going to bump into your manager inside your house.
Yeah.
Otherwise, there are problems.
Yeah. You won't. Okay. Yes, you won't bump into your manager. If your manager or your VP shows up at your house, I think you have bigger fish to fry.
Yep.
Yeah, there's serious problems. But yes, I think you can't bump into your sister team's manager.
Yeah.
Right? The only time that you kind of have those weird, I won't call them weird, those kiki haha conversations is before a meeting starts. And the second the meeting starts, everyone is just straight to what the agenda for the meeting is, right? So there is no exchange. I went in, one of the times that I saw a sister team's manager there, and I was like, I didn't know you were based in Seattle. And they said, oh, yes, they are. And I was like, oh, great. Do you want to have lunch? And she actually said, let's have lunch. Yeah. And then from there, I understood what her team was doing, how they were looking at their work, how they work with, like, I just got better understanding of business and better understanding of my role, what my org does, just by sitting down and having a conversation with the manager from a sister team, right? I understood how she looks at certain levels, like just context that you can't get because you didn't have those hallway conversations. Yeah.
I think this conversation is going beautifully. I think what you're saying we're calling out is this. We that work from home, like the once in a while going to the office. So what on the other hand do you think are like some of the major benefits for you of working from home?
Working from home, man, I enjoy not being in traffic.
Oh yeah.
I definitely enjoy not being in traffic. From where I live to my office, without traffic is like 15 minutes. With traffic, like 30, 35 to 40 minutes, which isn't even horrible. But I think it's just the mental drain of just sitting down there and then driving and all that stuff. I also have to pay for parking. So every time I pay between $12 and $15 is not horrible. But, there's that. I enjoy being in my own space.
Yeah.
I enjoy being in my own studio, the office that I've built for myself with my setup. Everything is nice. I enjoy not having to pay for food.
Yeah.
Right? Well, we get free food at Netflix. But I enjoy eating my own food, which isn't really a thing because I can take my own food into the office, right? But I think in just terms of ease of life, it's a lot easier. I wake up, go to the gym, come back, shower, do my thing, go downstairs to work, right? Like it's just a lot simpler because you're in your own space, you're in your own comfort zone. So I can definitely understand why people would want to do it. And let me just preface this as well. If you absolutely do not like your job, if you see your job as a means to an end, which is just for money only, and you don't like it, then I can understand why you want to stay from home and not put in the effort that we're talking about to grow your career, right? By all means. But if you see your work as a career and you want to excel and you want to grow and you want to build those connections, then everything that we're saying is going to be applicable to you. But if you don't care about it, then at this point, there is really no need to go ahead. Yeah.
Slight counterpoint though is that some people. So first of all, I am a single. So our lived reality, there is no sick child that we have to take care of. There is no child that needs constant help. My grandma doesn't live with me, and somebody has to keep an eye on her. So that's some people actually have interesting life situations as well.
Absolutely.
I and Umar are speaking from single men on the West Coast perspective.
Yeah.
Temper that with some nuance. But I think Umar is calling out something important though, and I think the tide is turning on this. A lot of companies are beginning to require that you come spend more time literally collaborating with people in person, because there are a lot of benefits to actually just getting FaceTime with people and getting work done together with them.
The productivity is unmatched. It's unmatched. And again, people will say you can do this on Teams, you can do this on Zoom. I dare you. I want you to have a problem, right? I want you to have a serious technical problem. That's not just a config issue or something. We're talking design type of problem. We're talking there's so many layers to this problem. Then open Visual Studio, open a heavy IDE, right? Something that takes up a lot of memory, takes up a lot of this thing. And then open Teams or open Zoom or open whatever and share your screen and try to fix that thing with someone on the other side who is telling you to click on this, then you're like click on what? You understand what I like? There's so much friction in just that getting help.
Friction is ridiculous.
There's so much. I remember when I was working in Substrate and I was working on something super, super hard. After like a month and a half to 2 months, I wasn't making the progress that I thought I wanted to do. What did I start doing? I started going into the office because the people who could help me, they were in the office. And I know it was a lot simpler to just go downstairs, carry my laptop and go to one of them and say, yo, this thing is not working.
Yeah.
And then I get your time, I get you for an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours. Then for us to say, let's schedule a time for that before, there's just a lot more friction, right? The productivity is not much. Whenever we go on sites, the stuff that we get, like, yes, we're in meetings planning for stuff, but we just get a lot more done, right? From a business perspective, I can understand why companies do that. But at the same time, you can, if the nature of your work is just you and you know what you need to get done, I completely understand.
Okay, you're calling out. I think I want to do a quick wrap up. I think a quick wrap up of where I think you're saying. I think you called out like a couple of benefits from working from home as well. You can control your interruptions.
Yes.
Like you build good like asynchronous unblocking. Like you can say, oh well, somebody needs to respond to me about this one. Move on to something else. Yeah. You can quickly like build some structures to work async. But I think the other side of what you're saying about working from home is like when you need to get unblocked. It's a way worse experience. You don't get the serendipity of like bumping into people. Also, like people can start to put things in your calendar and because like it is Zoom, you're available on Zoom.
Exactly,
so
yeah.
Things start to creep. And then also like your life and your work, they feel very mixed. So it feels like, it's just one unending continuum.
They said during COVID time, because people were working from home, the average time that people worked was more than 40 hours.
Yeah.
People were putting in more time because you couldn't separate work from your house, right? It's like you're on a computer downstairs, might as well, if you have this thing to do, just get it done.
Yeah.
You actually do spend more time on average across companies. You spend more time working if you're fully remote because maybe the time that you're supposed to be working, you're not actually working. You're going to do something else. Maybe you're frying plantain. But I fry plantains at the weirdest time. But the idea, you're grilling chicken or you're doing something, but you do spend more time working and like catching up for stuff that you missed instead of actually doing the work, which, like I said, if you can get your stuff done just you by yourself, then I can understand why you wouldn't want to add that extra layer of going into the office.
Yeah, I think the other thing, I just summarized like work from home. Positive, negatives. I think if we go to like working from the office, like some of the benefits are like you just called out, like much faster debugging of stuff. In person, you can learn stuff way faster from somebody because you can be like, hey, just click this versus the click there, go there. That thing on the top right corner.
Yeah.
All that friction. And then also you can get better visibility into what's going on in sister teams because like you're ambiently around, you can obviously bump into people. But the other side of work from the office is like, that there's the crazy commute. And then also like sometimes when you're working from the office, people just because you're available right in front of them, they just be bumping into you to hit you and you can't actually deeply focus on like when you're online where you're like, bro, I'm just going to turn off Slack.
Yeah.
I check Slack 2 times today because I have this thing to just kill.
Yeah.
And nobody's coming to bump into you. But if we call out those benefits, do you have any tricks that you find that when you're in one mode, helps you optimize for the other one? So for example, what do you do when you're working from home that helps get you some of the benefits of working from the office?
So what I try to do is, even for my personal work, I try to minimize distractions. So when you're working from the office, you can get distracted by people. What that looks like for some people on my team is, rather, what they do to try to curb that is some people on the team, they just don't work around people, which is super weird. But they just carry their laptop and they go to like a different part of, like we have flex desk. So they just go to like a part where no one on the team is sitting around or where no one can ask them questions. And I completely respect it and I understand why they're doing it. For me, what that looks like at home is I have do not disturb on. I use a Mac. If you have do not disturb on, you don't get any notifications at all. So you don't get those Slack notifications. What do I also do? I also put my phone away.
Yeah.
Right. My phone is always in a different room. That way, there's also do not disturb on my phone. Nobody can like break through that do not disturb. I have my watch, which I use to check notifications, which is a distraction for me, but I need it because I use it to look at my calendar on the watch. And if there's a way I can block everything else and then just have only the calendar, trust me, I would. But that's kind of like what I try to do to kind of like simulate working from the office at home in terms of distractions.
Okay, well, what you just one of your birthday presents is yourself for that, so you won't need to watch any longer. Okay. But anyways, the way I think about it is kind of similar. One of the things I do when I work from home most times, to be honest, is I have office hours. I have office hours 3 times a week, and office hours is space for people that I collaborate with a lot to come and sit down with me, and like basically I would answer any question within that 30 minutes. I will do anything you want me to do within that 30 minutes. I am completely available. Nothing is stupid. Nothing is, I'm there to unblock you for that 30 minutes. So you don't have to find time around like my own schedule and stuff. You know, I am sitting at a place 30 minutes, 3 times a week to answer your questions, right? So I find that is super productive for me. The other thing is, there's this thing called like maker versus manager mode. Do you know it? Well, Graham wrote an essay about it. But what he was saying is, and this is something you started talking about already, which is for a manager, your job is done in bite pieces. A manager can have 7 meetings in a day and they will still be fine. As an engineer, before you are even in the mood to write code, your mind needs like 30 minutes to even get in the mood,
to ease into it,
open the IDE, get calm, all that stuff. If you context switching back is super expensive. If you start running a test, your test run for 1 hour, for example, 45 minutes, and then you go to one meeting and you come back again, you are starting that test from scratch.
Yeah.
That variable you changed, you've forgotten it. Like there are probably better people than I am at like being conscious, but what that says is, as a maker, you need long stretches of uninterrupted time to actually get work done. There's an essay by Paul Graham. I can add it to the show notes if you want to look at that. But what that means, like Umar said, is you basically block off like a couple hours and then just say, hey, I'm going to sit down and just get stuff done, right? And that is super valid. The last thing that I do and I love about what I do right now is I write a lot. What that does is I have ideas in my head about how things should work, how we should interact with other teams, or like what dependencies or requirements we have from other teams. And I document them. I make a Google sheet, or I make stuff. And then I present them to in my team's design review. We have design reviews like maybe every Thursday or every other Thursday or something. But I then put it in the hands of my team, my engineering manager, my program manager. We have conversations about it, and I try to make sure that the framework that I have in my head about how to think about something is shared. What that does for me is I don't have to go to meetings about those things any longer. 1. Number 2, I can trust that my partners are representing the ideas in a way that is faithful to how I thought about it. So that way, when they go to a meeting, I kind of they won't always do this, but you kind of expect that. And I do like 2 or 3 sessions, especially per thing I write. We'll probably have like a couple sessions to flesh it out. And I circularize it some. So when they go to a meeting and somebody says something, she's countering with, hey, no, you didn't think about this, because she's read the document, or he's read the document, or they've read the document, and they understand how you're thinking about stuff. And like you guys have had debates about it internally. So you can have a united front, but that also saves me the bandwidth of being in those meetings to be the one to oppose it, because I already wrote stuff about it. You can tell the person, hey, you're wrong because of this. But here is also like an internal team document where we discuss how we think about it and why. And like that way, even if I'm not in the meeting, the person that they bring the idea to can go and comment. This is the async artifact thing we're talking about here. Comment and say, hey, I think you're wrong about this. But then your ideas can get like a life of their own and live by themselves outside of your head and be like, it's the mind virus thing we talked about in the previous episode. You can start the mind virus and then people can debate with the virus and like flesh out stuff, but you don't have to physically be in those rooms.
Yeah, I think it's what you're saying is, in order to not be bombarded with those meetings, or in order to save your time, right, you write and you give this information a lot. For us, what we do is, for at least the person who I work with or in our pod, we meet once a week and we kind of like discuss this is what's happening, and we all kind of like align and we agree on being on the same page about something, as you said, so that if there's a meeting that involves this thing, not everyone needs to go.
Yeah.
Only one person can go because they kind of like have an idea. And if there's something that we didn't consider, then they then bring it back and say, oh, hey, this is what these people are saying, and then this is what that person is saying. That's super smart. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying is also super valuable when so like for example, I have my team's roadmap sketched out. It is 3 years of engineering work that's on that roadmap, right? So I can't be in meetings talking about stuff that's 3 years out, but also like sometimes I have to zoom out to build a roadmap, and then some of the conversations require me to zoom in. But to be honest, like I talk about it from a zoomed out perspective. My engineering manager and my PM are probably at the zoomed out perspective. At some point, they might need to go deep. But when most conversations, the way they need to go deep, if somebody's looking at the artifacts I produce about the roadmap and is trying to understand like actual deep stuff, they can comment in that document from the zoomed out perspective, say, hey, what does this stuff really involve? And tag me in there and I'll go and respond, right? Put comments in there. Figma or something would tell me they've put comments in there. But that's how I think about scaling.
Yeah. I think now my mind then goes to what would that look like if you were in person, right? Because at the end of the day, those would now be planning meetings that probably still happen, but they would probably happen in a more, like, maybe all the information that needs to happen. Like, so I'll give you a story, just a side note before you say what you're going to say. The project that I'm working on now started as a hallway conversation.
Yeah.
That, hey, this thing needs to happen. We're having this problem. And our group was like, oh, yes, we're actually having this problem. Then it then got written down, right? But it's harder for that. Like, you have to be more intentional about doing the extra work to write that document, right? That kind of like dumps all that stuff, when a 5 to 10 minute conversation between the people who are involved in the thing would have saved the work of thinking about what you're going to write, writing it, making sure it's good, or making sure it's conveying what you want to convey, as opposed to just if that, again, all of this is if it's just two people who are working on a thing, right? As opposed to it then have a kind of like being a whole thing where you invest time. You would have probably still end up writing a document for it. I'm just thinking about what that would look like if everyone was in person. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So what you're talking about is super important. I was listening to a podcast, Brain Food, or the Farnham Street blog, the podcast they have, and it was talking about like companies that are built for being like remote native. Most companies aren't built for that. I don't think I work at a place that's remote native, but the idea there is, what you're asking is this: a lot of the async artifacts. So, for example, when you're in person, you do a whiteboard and you start to draw stuff out. What I find sometimes is that stuff that was drawn out, because it's not structured for async, it is the people that are in the room when it is drawn out have the most context. But the more layers away they are from that conversation happening in real time, the less likely they have the exact same mental model. On the other hand, the discipline of remote work forces you to say, hey, I flesh out this Figma as hard as possible, and then people can get it off of looking at the Figma. Somebody will tell you, hey, a whiteboard should usually be good enough for the right level of details. And to be honest, the other thing is maybe you pull it in a PR FAQ or you put it in a 6-pager or something. But I generally find like when I write stuff in Figma, I feel like I can't lean on any of all those other things because people don't really read those things, to be honest. So I kind of feel like I have to have a lot more discipline with my illustration, with my design doc. And I think I can balance out things in a way that I couldn't when I was doing whiteboard sessions in person. So I kind of prefer the experience. Something else you're also saying is this: when you're in person and you have those accidental conversations, you don't need somebody that is like the glue to pull things together, because in the hallway you can have those conversations.
I think plus, in addition to that, the back and forth that would have taken you and somebody 2 weeks can happen in 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Right? Oh, this how like the back and forth that you would have put in the document, then they would then respond, then that person will respond,
yeah.
then they will now respond,
Yeah.
then now respond. Before you know it, let's set up a meeting to talk about this thing, right? It could be one of those things where you guys are having, oh, do you want to have lunch and talk about it? Sure, right? And then we just talk about it. So in some way, I'm not picking a side here.
Yeah.
I'm just saying there is advantages to both, right? If we're fully remote, then we have to put as much detail and as much information as much thought into things. If we're in person and we're talking about the same thing, things just move faster, right? Things just move quicker. Things just kind of like, hey, this needs to happen. Oh yeah. Let me sync with this person to do it. If we're remote, then that like there's just that slight friction because it's ultimate. At the end of the day, it's written communication versus verbal communication.
Fair.
Yeah.
I think the benefit of being in person, I think outside of meeting with 2 or 3 people, remote definitely is better because if you're in person, well, this person is in that weird corner and nobody can see whether they're around or not.
Exactly.
The other person is that weird corner. On Zoom, like often at work, when a conversation goes beyond like 6 messages, I'm like, hey, let's just jump on a Zoom real quick and just get this solved. You don't have to go and hunt for them. And then this person's in the bathroom. This other person, you can say, hey, just drop a Zoom call in here and have people hop on. I think that's one of the things we're talking about with like thinking and building the company to be remote first. Most people don't really do that.
Yeah, that's really tricky. There's this app that I saw where it's almost like it's like an online virtual office where you're on your desk, you're working. When you're on your desk, it kind of shows that you're on your desk and people can then just hop into your desk and like it's kind of like pinging your team, but then it can then show when people are kind of like having conversations. You can tap into the conversation. Like, it was a little bit weird, but at the same time, I kind of understood what they were doing. They were kind of like trying to simulate that hallway conversation in person, but it was a little bit hard to do. But going back to the topic with, remote work versus, working from the office, I think another part that kind of like plays into it is the visibility.
Yeah.
Right? The visibility that you get, not just from, the impact of your work perspective, but from them seeing your face and seeing that you still work here.
Yeah, that is very true. I think it's a thing where a couple of things first, like if your leader or your manager sees you in meetings and stuff a lot, he can make mental maps or assumptions about what is going on. So your work is way more legible to him because he's in the same space with you or he's seeing you around and stuff. And he can also like quickly ask you for a bit of paper at your screen or something. If that doesn't happen and you're remote and it obviously doesn't see your calendar right because Outlook doesn't share that stuff, then you're struggling because your work it might not be legible to your manager. Your manager is essentially just working from what did he see either in a conversation over like Zoom or what he saw in your Jira. And is missing a lot of the other context about all the other things you're doing. So there is a lot of work that I think you have to do when you're remote to manage and balance out your legibility. I think we spoke about it when we talked about the brag sheet, but also I think we spoke about 5 things, right? Did we talk about 5 things? Do you want to just recap what the 5
Yeah, 5:15 is the end of the week on Friday at 5:15 p.m. You write a document with, correct me if I'm wrong on there, what you accomplished and then what you'll do next week. Is that what's
slightly different?
Okay.
The way I think about it is that it should take 15 minutes to write and 5 minutes to read. But my own structure is I have 3 headers. What have I done this week? What is work in progress? And what are things that are informational? And then the other thing I do is like, hey, if I need the people that are reading it to unblock me on something, I pin that in red. So I'm saying, hey, could you talk to this person to unblock me on this or stuff? But essentially what the idea is, end of week, these are all the things that we achieved. These are all the things that are work in progress. And just informationally, just keep an eye on this or just be aware that this stuff is happening. And I think that gives your manager a lot of legibility because he doesn't really see, he just knows you are in meetings and he probably trusts if you're a high performer, he trusts that you're doing stuff, but he doesn't have like real detailed knowledge. You're kind of giving him the legibility into what you're working on.
Yeah, that's all stuff that, again, you do because you're remote.
Yeah.
Right? You do because you don't see your manager every day. If you were in the same office, it could be like that, hey, can you tell this person to unblock? Can be a hallway stuff.
Yeah.
You understand what I mean?
Yeah.
It could be a quick hallway stuff where, as opposed to now, if you then send him a message to do it, right? Maybe it may seem like you really, really need it, but you like, I don't know. Like, there's again, I know people listening may probably be like, nah, this man wants us to go back to the office. If I wanted to work from the office, I would work at Amazon. Trust me. I don't want to be in the office fully. I'm just saying I know the benefits of being in the office, right? Just from I've done projects in the office and I've done projects away from the office. And there's just that additional friction that has positives, right? Based on what Okpa said, right? We put in a lot more detail. We then flesh things out. You know, there's just, it's, if anything, it's a lot more accessible, right? But at the same time, it's stuff that we now have to do. And then it kind of like moves slowly where, again, just those hallway conversations, like you can figure out, oh, these people are doing this, or this project is about to be done that has this, that involves this, and just pivot, right? Yeah. Because that's information that you wouldn't have had if you didn't do it, right? There's also the struggle of working across time zones with people working remotely.
Yeah.
I know Okpe has meetings at lunchtime 12. I do not like it. I typically don't eat breakfast, so when it's 12, I want to go and eat. If you put a meeting on my calendar at 12, you have to be a very, very important person, and it has to be a very, very important meeting. But for some places, because they're working from, across, it's very, very tricky because, like they just put like, what's the time for East Coast to West Coast?
Oh, I have colleagues in India. I've had colleagues in India as well.
Yeah,
so
but
it becomes a whole thing.
Yeah, what I mean is there's only a set amount of time from overlap, right? Otherwise, you're now meeting people after outside work hours, which just doesn't work well, right? There's just all that additional friction that comes at the benefit of working from your underwear. I don't know. That's if you want to do that. But again, it's just some things to think about, right? People see you more. You can give updates to your work. You can just do a bunch of things. But yeah, these are all things that we should just kind of like think about when you think about working remotely versus when you're working from the office.
And I think like just to summarize about like really, I'm kind of like a person in the middle. One of the things I find is that your work tends to be seasonal, right? There's a time where you are just doing lots of conversations. Those times you can be remote. There's a time where you are just essentially saying, hey, nobody should reach out to me at all. I want to build. Those times you might be remote. But like the season of where you are, there's a time where you are doing demos and all those things. Those things might benefit way more from you being in person than for you doing them remote. So like when you're doing designs, it might be a thing where you just want to sit down with people, or like when you're building once in a week or twice in a week, you go in because you sometimes need somebody to help you debug or unblock you. So I think like the real honest perspective I have is like there's a hybrid world that really does work. It just depends on like what season you are with the projects you're on, right? If you're in a project where you're just like super early, or like you're just like maintaining the project and that's all this week looks like, man, just work remotely. If there's not anything that's going on, you're just on call and not doing really complex stuff, maybe work remotely. But balance, like it's a balance of what season you are in, where either work from home or work from the office really just works best.
Completely agree. I think what I found works for me is when I don't have any meetings, meaning when my calendar is clean and I have stuff to get done, I have implementations to get done, I go into the office.
Yeah.
I find that I'm like, if I'm at home and I don't have any meetings, of course I'm going to go and do my own thing.
Yeah.
Right? I'm going to go and do what I want to but if I'm in the office, then I know I'm here to lock in. I'm here to get stuff done, right? And as Okpa said, if I'm ever in a place where I need to do like a design review, I need to, do any sort of collaboration or work, I always just try to go into the office and try to get the people who I'm working with to go into the office too. We do a lot of offsites at Netflix just so like every quarter, I think every quarter I go maybe like 2 or 3 times across my org, across my just group in general. And I don't know. I found that there is definitely a balance to it. I'm also for being a hybrid worker, but I think the idea of just being fully remote, I don't know. I don't think in the long run it serves you as well as someone who is hybrid or someone who chooses to go into the office. Like, especially depending on what stage you're in your career. If you are a new grad or an intern, I definitely remote going. I I suggest you go into the office as much as you can. Completely. As much as there's so much you don't know from. There's not just information. There's context. There's people. There's so many ways. I think at Netflix, all the new grads have to work from the office for their first year at least, right? And then from there you can then go in. So yeah, that's just some context to think about. Again, at different stages in your life. I mentioned this earlier. I want to reiterate: we don't have children. We're both single. No, there's no external this thing. But the second you get, one of a child, a partner, then you then have to start figuring out schedules. So I can definitely understand why people are leaning more towards being fully remote. But I do think in an ideal world, the hybrid option would be the best one.
Yeah, I think I agree. Like the hybrid seems to give us the best of both worlds.
Yeah. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much for watching wherever you are. If you are watching this on YouTube, please don't forget to like and subscribe. Wherever you're listening and watching, don't forget to follow us on social media. It's at Beyond the Build Podcast. We post shorter forms of these clips if you're interested in those. And yeah, we do have a form at in the description of this episode and all our future and past episodes where you can ask us questions, suggest episodes that you want us to add. Yeah, just let us know and we will catch you on the next one. Thank you for watching.